Hi everyone, Roy here on my channel, Roy Reads Anything, and it's Twelfth Night. Twelfth Night, the senses shattering climax of the Christmas season. You know, your Christmas and New Year's, they're just like the warm-up for Twelfth Night, that is the big one. Although not many people treat it that way anymore, but that's how it used to be. That was you could cruise on through Christmas itself because Twelfth Night was the big celebration. Let me read you a description of Twelfth Nights as they were by Leigh Hunt, writer Leigh Hunt. So this would be 19th century. Christmas goes out in fine style with Twelfth Night. It is a finish worthy of the time. Christmas Day was the morning of the season, New Year's the middle of it or noon, Twelfth Night is the night, brilliant with innumerable planets of twelfth cakes. The whole island keeps court, nay, all Christendom. All the world are kings and queens. Everybody is somebody else, and learns at once to laugh at and to tolerate characters different from his own by enacting them. Cakes, characters, forfeits, lights, theatres, merry rooms, little holiday faces, and last not least, the painted sugar on the cakes. So bad to eat, but so fine to look at. So there was banqueting, cake obviously a big thing, and bigness being part of it, as well as these fanciful decorations. There's also a thing about having unfeasibly huge cakes, either as advertising or conspicuous charity for the poor. Queen Victoria had one with like action figures on the top. We've got a couple of slices, not going to quite that extreme, but the decorations were, a phantasmagoria. Castles, stars, kings, cottages, dragons, trees, fish, palaces, cats, dogs, churches, lions, milkmaids, knights, serpents, and innumerable other forms in snow-white confectionery painted with variegated colours, glittering by excess of light, and excess definitely what it's all about. As well as this, Leigh Hunt talks about playing different roles, and that seems to be an important part of the sort of traditional Twelfth Night games. So sometimes with the help of the cake itself, where you would find, say, a bean within the cake, mean you have to be the king, or if you find a clove, you're the knave, or maybe by drawing lots. People at parties would have these roles that they would then act out during the night. So it's like the world turned upside down. Anything can happen. You also had traditions like wassailing, where singers, sometimes in costumes, going house to house, maybe singing, maybe performing a little sort of playlet and being rewarded with drink, possibly from a wassail cup or bowl, which could be hot alcohol, maybe with apples in it. So again, it's a bit not your usual thing. I think if people show up outside the door with burning torches demanding alcohol, normally you wouldn't be so delighted about that, but it's Twelfth Night. Anything goes. Everything's reversed. Other traditions that still persist to do with taking down decorations. So when I was little, my nan always said, "You've got to take your decorations down by Twelfth Night, or Old Nick will take them down for you." So in other words, the devil would come, not to helpfully remove the decorations exactly, but that would be a bad thing, especially in our area where Old Nick had famously dug a huge valley out of the nearby hills, known as the Devil's Dyke. So that's still a thing. Although I recently came across another explanation for the idea of removing the decorations by Twelfth Night, which is to do with the greenery. So we brought this greenery into the house, your holly and ivy, mistletoe, all that sort of stuff, full of imps, sprites, fairies, or Pharisees, as we call them in Sussex. So, and they'd be causing chaos, except the 12 days of Christmas being holy, they're suppressing the mischief of these entities. So that's why that effect wears off. So if you've still got your stuff indoors after 12th night, that's when the mischief starts. Your milk gets soured, your baby's changed into changelings, all that sort of thing. Of course, what happens now with your sort of plastic decorations and tinsel, I don't know. Maybe there's a whole new breed of artificial fairies for the new age. That could be quite a good story. Yeah. Talking of days, now you might be thinking, better get my decorations down. When is 12th night? That's a little bit slippery. Some traditions would place it tonight, the 5th of January. Others would place it the 6th of January, or even the 17th of January for those not on the Gregorian calendar. So, there's a little bit pick and mix there. I think you're probably reasonably safe by the end of the 6th in talking decorations. Another thing is all you respectable maidens, you're supposed to finish, if you've got some knitting on the go, you're supposed to finish it by tonight to get a lucky year. So yes, good stuff. I suppose some of those traditions might sound a bit familiar because they've been like retconned back into Christmas or even Halloween. And really, I think these days it's more like we celebrate Advent and Christmas is the end, unlike what was being described there, where 12th night's the massive climactic feast, where now people are back at work. Christmas, who cares about that? The days are getting longer. And then there's the play, the Shakespeare play, that probably keeps the name alive, which is what this video is largely about, because we've been watching a version of 12th Night on 12th Night since about 2016. So we've seen lots of different versions and grown to love the play. So it's a Shakespeare comedy. I'd say one of the more or most accessible ones, in that the plot's fairly easy to figure out. It is funny, but being Shakespeare, it's not just funny. There's lots of interesting stuff about identity and so on in there as well. It's not particularly Christmassy. It doesn't actually take place on 12th night, although there's nothing to stop it being staged as if it is. I guess it's that idea of role reversal, of the world turned upside down, of the sort of knaves and fools being in charge, all that sort of stuff. Plot summary: you've got two twins, Viola and Sebastian, shipwrecked on an island, and separately they both think the other one's dead. Wah! So following Viola, she's now in this new place. She's got to make her way in a new society, and she does that by disguising herself as a man called Cesario, and she gets to be part of the court of a guy called Duke Orsino. He's in love with a noblewoman called Olivia, but it's kind of not going anywhere because she doesn't even want to see him. She's rebuffed his attentions many times. He's the guy who says, if music be the food of love, play on. So like a lot of Shakespeare plays, full of Shakespeare quotes, this being no exception. And Viola, remember Viola, shipwrecked woman dressed as a man, she actually quite fancies him, but of course, what's going to happen? Because he's, as far as he's concerned, he's this young chap who he sends as a messenger to Olivia. So Viola goes to Olivia's place, does get admitted, and complications ensue, because this Olivia, denier of love, she quite fancies Viola, the young man who's presenting herself. So you get all of that sort of complication. Again, if that sounds familiar, like a lot of Shakespeare, it's been turned into things like movie She's the Man, used the same sort of idea. Also, then you've got Olivia's Mad Household, which includes a drunken uncle, a guy called Sir Toby Belch, one of the big sort of comic parts. A sort of all-licensed fool or jester called Feste, and an officious and status-conscious persnickety steward. So he's the guy who runs the household, basically. He's the sort of COO of the whole outfit, called Malvolio. And so you got a sort of gender bending love triangle or set of love triangles, and you've also got the sort of knavish drunken characters and how they want to get one over on Malvolio, and that has consequences. So although it's a comedy, it has some really poignant elements, and you end up, I think, with a sort of, this is the world, this is life, it's got everything in it, sort of thing. Trickery is played on Malvolio. Not going to tell you what it is because you might want to watch it after the build-up we've given it. But that is why I come before you wearing yellow stockings, cross-gartered.
So dignified, dear.
Well, they can only see the leg part. I hadn't really thought further up. So, yes, that's what that's all about. And like I say, loved it from the first. I'm going to run through the versions we've seen because people sometimes ask, which is your favourite? Difficult to say, but quick pen portrait of the ones we've seen, most of which are on YouTube. So these are not the order we watched them, but the order they were made. So we've seen a 1969 television version with Alec Guinness as Malvolio and Tommy Steele as Feste the Jester. So Tommy Steele was a rock and roller, but a kind of a very tame sort of housewife's favourite kind of one, a sort of Harry Styles figure, I suppose, of the time. He's pretty good. That was pretty good traditional one all round. 1980 version has Felicity Kendal as Viola. She was great. At one point, she wears a bowler hat. So Felicity Kendal, most famous over here for being in a 70s sitcom called The Good Life, with Richard Briers. Really good. We've seen a 1986 version with Geoffrey Rush. So it's Australian. It's set at the time, so it looks very Miami Vice-ish. My main memory is Kerry Walker, who plays Feste, with a sort of Buster Keaton vibe that is quite unsettling in a way. 1988, Kenneth Branagh directed a TV version. That is where we started, because I remember it getting good reviews. It came on BBC4, so I said, hey, let's watch this. That's got Richard Briers in it, comedy partner of Felicity Kendal, as it happens. But yeah, a great performance by Briers and good all round. Really recommend that one. We've seen the 1996 Lovey Packed edition with Helena Bonham-Carter is Olivia. Imogen Stubbs is Viola. Really good, mainly because of Imogen Stubbs, really. 1998, one of our favourites is the Lincoln Center production. So this is a performance on stage that's been filmed, and if you can put up with some rather VHS quality videos, it's on YouTube and it's brilliant, and it's got some sort of pre-fame people in it like Helen Hunt, Paul Rudd. Fairly traditional version, except that there's a swimming pool in the middle of the stage that's used to really good effect. Jumping ahead to 2017, National Theatre did it with Tamsin Greig as Malvolia. Excellent. Also in 2017, it's a bit like the National Theatre have done it, so the Royal Shakespeare Company have to do it as well with Ade Edmondson as Malvolio. Pretty good. 2018, there was a modern version set in California with Emily Goss, but also made over here in Britain. Shanty Productions did a version with Sheila Atim as Viola, which we really, really, really like. So that's a very low budget, like it's filmed in like a normal house version, but a really, really good adaptation, and really good for being able to follow along, I suppose, with the opening up the plot, etc. One we would like to have seen, but we can't because we weren't alive in 1943. Wendy Hiller, who was a grand dame of the theatre. She, if you've ever seen the 80s miniseries of Anne of Green Gables, she plays a grand old lady in that, who says the famous line,
"I'll have no more of your monkey shines." Anne of Green Gables, the sequel. Plays Mrs. Harris.
She's famous. She's famous in this house, anyway.
Yeah,
yes, she played Viola as a much younger woman, and that was during the war, and it was performed in like factories as a kind of morale booster for people working on the war effort in manufacturing. So this year, what are we going to see? We're going to see a Globe Theatre version from 2021. We're not always great lovers of the Globe's way of doing things. They're probably more enjoyable there if you're there. But we recently saw Michelle Terry in a great production of Much Ado About Nothing. She's Viola in this. Sounds promising. The blurb says, "Wild, surprising and funny. This production of Twelfth Night, directed by Globe Associate Artistic Director Sean Holmes, is infused with the mesmeric nostalgia." Sounds like that perfume I got, doesn't it? Infused with the mesmeric nostalgia and the soulful music of the world of Americana. So we'll pop back later with our reactions to that. Meanwhile, get your knitting finished, get your decorations down, and enjoy Twelfth Night. Jenna. And we're back. We've seen it. I'd say that was a mixed one. I thought there were some really good things in it and some terrible things. And my overall, I'm only going to say one thing, which is, I'll say two things. My overall feeling about it is, compared to the many other ones we've seen, with this one, I was sometimes made me laugh, but it never moved me because it's done so broadly. But Michelle Terry, who made us watch it in the first place, still really like her, and I'm definitely going to biro her name onto my satchel.
So what did I think? I found it an incoherently produced experience. So the music was a kind of watered down, messed around sort of Americana thing, which was occasionally quite fun, most of the time a bit why. Michelle Terry was the best thing in it. Very, very definitely. And I too shall biro her name on my rough book.
Okay.
On the front of my rough
I'm going to put it on my arm like it's a tattoo as well.
Give you 50p.
With my Christmas felt tips.
But generally speaking, I have to say, it's confirmed me in my belief that the Globe productions are a shouty mess.
Not great, but we've seen a bunch of others. Still love the play, and yes, so that's it. That's Twelfth Night so far. We raise a glass of wassail to you, and I think
you should never toast with non-alcohol. It's unlucky.
Oh well, that's no toasting here then.
Blowing it for everybody.
Okay, good.